Hello. Good morning.
Oh, are we live?
We are.
Oh, crap. Hello! Hello, everybody. I decided not to say... Oh, there's our flip.
There's our flip.
I decided not to do an email today because I've been sending you guys a lot of emails. I'm noticing that my MailChimp open rate is actually going down since I've been making more videos for you guys. When I was only sending emails on Fridays to announce the Friday Bean, we had really great open rates. And now that I'm like actually creating trainings and stuff, our video views are going down and our email open rates are going down. So I'm like, what do you guys want from me? But anyway, that's why you didn't get an email today, because we're just kind of doing a fun, casual, a recollection of our life story for Mark's birthday, because we do have a lot of topics in the queue, lots of things that we want to talk about over the next few weeks. We have lots of videos planned. If you're new here, I'm assuming that no one's new here, but if you're new here, we have so many Etsy videos on our channel. I've been doing a video every other day. I think we have 9 new videos now. Maybe it's...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got a total of 9. And I've got a ton of topics lined up to do more. But today, we're just going to have some fun with you guys for Mark's birthday. Mark,
Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. I appreciate it.
There's lots and lots in there. We just now, like, got coffee. So
Mine is gross.
Is it gross?
It's like so sour. It's like a Sour Patch Kid sour. Try it.
Oh, that's terrible. What is that? Is
that the same thing you normally order? It's gross.
Are you going to be able to drink that?
No. In no way am I going to be able to drink that.
Oh, you're going to be sleepy the whole time. And your phone's going to go off with birthday wishes from
me. Go ahead and just take care of that.
All right, guys. Excuse me. I do have a few pieces of news for everyone who's like, I don't care about birthdays or fun. I just want to know about Etsy stuff. We released a video yesterday introducing the all-new keyword lists from eRank. Honestly, I don't think that I'm ever going to be able to go back to the way that we used to track keywords. I'm never going to be able to do it. I'm too spoiled to keyword lists. I've had it way longer than you guys have. I've been beta testing it now for 2 or 3 months. It's been a long time. And there's just no way. There's no way that I could go back and get rid of all of my lists, because normally, like, when it comes to the keywords that I use in my listings, I normally have to go back and check them over and over again to make sure that they're still performing well, because trends change, you know? People aren't searching. They might be searching for a Christmas wreath nonstop in November, and that's great, but then I need to switch that term out, you know, in January or late December. So not having to go back and actually manually look at those keywords and having them all saved in one place, like I said, there's no way that I can go back. So if that's something that you're interested in, I released a video yesterday covering that. It is an eRank Pro feature for their $10 a month plan. However, we are working on a $5.99 plan, so $6 a month US dollar. So, you know, whatever your currency is, that will fluctuate slightly, but there will be a cheaper option. Anthony and the team and I were talking about it, and we know that things are really hard, and we wanted to create just like an in-between plan for those who can't afford the $10 a month. So that's why there's going to be a $5.99 plan that has some pro features, but not quite as many as pro. But you do get keyword lists with that. So that will hopefully be launching next week. We've realized that we shouldn't give like launch dates on things, because development of like website tools is way harder than recording videos and things like that. I can say, hey, I'll have a video done for you tomorrow, and I can make sure it's done. But when it comes to development and things, bugs just, you never know.
Bugs happen.
Bugs happen.
I recently purchased eRank. Where do I find videos on how to use it?
I've got quite a few, Gary. Let me know what specifically it is that you want to know how to do. Every single tool within eRank, if you go to the right side, there's a little help button. It will actually expand out a window that will tell you what to do. I've got some videos on my channel. There are little question marks kind of strewn throughout E-Rank, and if you hover over those, they will kind of explain what each little element is. We're also working on a guided tutorial system for E-Rank, which the very first time that you log in, have you ever logged into a website for the first time and you get like little pop-ups that say, you know, this tool does this, and then you click next, and then another pop-up comes over here and says, and this tool does this, and you can click through them. That's something that we plan to do in the future. It's just, we want to make sure that we get these tools out for you guys first. But if you have any like questions about E-Rank and you need to know how a certain tool works, just let me know. Send me an email, post in the Handmade Alpha Facebook community, link down below, and I can create a video for you guys covering pretty much any tool when it comes to E-Rank. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
What was with the baby tiger?
Oh, for the thumbnail photo, it was us feeding a baby tiger. We bought a tiger for Mark's birthday.
No, we didn't. She's not going to be feeding me to a tiger anytime soon. No worries. We haven't actually watched that.
Tiger King.
We haven't actually watched that. But we went to, that was the Myrtle Beach vacation,
yeah.
Right? We went to Myrtle Beach, and they have just a little thing where you can go up and take pictures with tiny little animals, but we befriended the people at the booth. We showed up like an hour early.
We read the reviews, and the review said, oh, you only get to sit with the animals for a minute, which is good because they only bring the animals out for an hour because it stresses them out, and they only do photos for an hour. I think that's great. We were all for that. But we like befriended the people who worked there and got there early and was talking to them about business and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we got more time with the animals because we were talking to the people.
Yeah, I'm not like afraid of tigers or big cat. I love big cats. Like I would cuddle with a lion. It doesn't scare me at all.
He loves all cats. And
I do, and I was it was pretty funny because first we what do you remember what type of monkey it was?
No,
we got to hold. They brought out this little monkey wearing a little diaper, and they set it on her lap first, and it didn't see me, but then they picked it up and tried to hand it to me, and then it saw me with my big old beard, and immediately just lost its mind.
And your beard was longer then.
Yeah,
too.
my beard was quite a bit longer, and apparently it's like a sign of superiority to have long facial hair for that particular breed of monkey. So it was just terrified of me as a male with facial hair, but eventually it sat down and like held my finger and
just
all that stuff.
It looked back at him, and it just the oh crap look on its face. It was like, oh.
Yeah, it actually like made a facial expression. It was pretty funny.
Oh,
but the tiger, that whole thing was just hilarious to begin with, because when they brought it out, they're like, okay, don't touch its paws or its ears. And the first thing I did was grab its little paw and start rubbing on his ear, and it just like turned its head and loved, and it was all about it.
He doesn't listen to rules. He's just.
I don't. I know how to handle a cat. Like,
and it liked it. To be clear,
big cats are pretty much the same as small cats. They act just the same.
Oh, all right.
Just bigger.
Let me pop through and make sure that we don't have questions, and then we'll get into our story. Sarah's Kingdom. Starla also has a tutorial on the E-Rank site. Oh yeah, it's a little outdated. We are going to re-record that, but we have some aesthetic changes. Since I joined E-Rank in February, we're actually working on a complete like rebrand of the website. Not a rebrand, but just a makeover. And we don't want to record new videos until we're done with that. But it is in the getting started with E-Rank and getting started with E-Rank Pro. So whether you're a free member or a pro member, there's 2 different videos, and those are in the like help section of E-Rank, and that kind of talks about some of the tools. Lots of happy birthdays. By the way, you guys have such great tips and advice. Oh, Tiger King sucks. Don't watch it. We don't
like reality stuff.
Well, not only that, we don't like watch things that get super popular. Is that weird? Like, if something gets super popular, we automatically like avoid it.
We generally don't enjoy things that the mass enjoy. There's a few things that we like that like everybody likes, like Rick and Morty and South Park and some Family Guy. It's kind of gone downhill the past couple of years, but like that kind of stuff is fine. But when it comes to like reality TV shows and competition TV shows, it's not really our thing.
Our daughter, she's 8, and she really likes Nailed It. So every once in a
Oh
while
my
we'll
God.
sit and watch Nailed It with her, but whew, that host, she's so loud.
I
The
can't deal with
yelling.
like the fake personalities and stuff. It drives me nuts.
I can't deal with the reality TV shows. Like when you can just tell that they're exaggerating. I hate that. Real quick, where did I see it? Someone asked about a YouTube channel, and I don't know where it
I've
went.
been
Oh,
watching every comment.
do you guys have YouTube channel advice? I have a crochet how-to channel. YouTube is all about presentation, being comfortable in front of the camera, making sure your audio is good. People care a lot more about audio quality than video quality, and good SEO. It's a lot like getting engagement on YouTube. You want to get likes, you want to get subscribers, you want people to comment. Every time you guys like our video, it helps us. And I get really like, I don't know. I don't like constantly in all of my videos saying, be sure to like my video, be sure to subscribe to my channel. But that's what keeps the channel alive.
Yeah, we have to do that.
Right. So, hey, there's 9 likes on this video.
And
like.
our like ratio has like drastically gone up. We were going from getting like 1 or 2 likes on a video to like some of them have like 30, 40, 50 likes on them. So it's awesome. Keep that up, because all that means is like if you forget that we're making a video, or she makes a video and doesn't announce it, or you don't get an email or whatever other reason, you'll see it pop up in your feed if you're subscribed. If you like it, it's more likely to show up in other people's feeds, which means there's more questions and there's more advice that we might not think
Well, not to mention, if a video doesn't get a lot of likes, I assume that you guys didn't like the topic, and I quit making videos on that topic. So
and we move on.
Right, and we move on and try to do a different topic. I take that as like a gauge of what type of content I should make. So we're 13 minutes in. Let's talk about our life story.
I'm going to. I am going to go get water first since I have nothing.
Ooh, should we use Etsy SEO for a YouTube channel? No, it is a completely different type of SEO.
I'll be back. I'm getting water.
I can't tell you what I'm doing to help YouTubers, but we're doing something to help YouTubers, and it's SEO related, and it's coming kind of soonish, and I can't say another word about it. We're working on something nonstop like crazy people. That's coming soon. In the meantime, for YouTube SEO, I recommend using Google's keyword planner. And type in a few keyword ideas, and it will generate a bunch of other ideas just like eRank does. So that will help you a ton. But yeah, YouTube and Google are kind of one and the same because Google owns YouTube. So I recommend using, keyword planner. Let's see. TubeBuddy for SEO. Yes, TubeBuddy is currently the very best that there is. Currently. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about Mark and I. He's upstairs peeing, apparently, but we'll go ahead and get started. Where to begin? Where should we start? Feel free to ask us questions during this as well, because we are just kind of flying off the handle today. I guess while he's up there, I'll start with me, leading up to meeting him. I grew up a very poor girl. No, I had a pretty weird life. My dad was a musician. He was in a metal band, and he toured all over the place. He actually toured with the Misfits. He hung out in Tommy Lee's mansion. The band was called Shovelhead. And if you look up, I think Steve and Starla Shovelhead, you can find like this one of their songs, but it's some music video that I had made for him for a high school project. But anyway, he was also a truck driver. Between driving a truck and playing in bands, didn't see him a whole lot. My mom was a nurse who worked night shift, didn't see her a whole lot. So it was pretty much my great grandma who raised me, and she passed away when I was 8. And right around that time is when my mom and my dad divorced. My mom got with a guy named Jim. He was my stepdad. Still like hang out with him all the time. He was just over a couple days ago, standing far away, but he popped over for a little while. And yeah, we're like best friends. He's very business minded, and we talk a lot, like on high level stuff. So that's kind of a little bit of my growings up. When my mom and my stepdad divorced, things got really hard because my mom and him had bought a really nice home together. It was like a historical home. And when they broke up, my mom didn't have a lot of money as a nurse, where she had bought this house with two people working, and then it was just her. And we kind of lived on like banquet TV dinners, which for those who aren't in the US, I don't know if you guys have those, but they're like 99 cent, microwave dinners and ramen noodles. Um, and around that time, I also had my like first real serious boyfriend. He, oh, don't fall.
He might have hit my restart button.
Nope. We're still alive. The cat almost fell. That was the guy that I was pretty much with until Mark and I got together. And I don't know, how would you describe him?
Douche.
He was,
all of her ex-boyfriends are awful trash.
he was really physically abusive and kind of psychotic and crazy and
douche.
Yeah, douche. And Mark and I met on MySpace. The very first message he sent me, I was selling a guitar or a keyboard.
Piano.
A keyboard. Yeah, I was selling a keyboard, and I got a message from him on MySpace saying that, hey, we've got a mutual friend, and he tried to buy the keyboard off of me, and I met him in a parking lot at the mall to sell him a keyboard.
I didn't know if you were a weirdo.
I didn't know if you were a weirdo.
Exactly. And it turns out she was.
And when we first met, like, I just didn't think anything of it. It wasn't like we didn't like fall in love at first sight or anything. He was just some guy that I met in a parking lot to sell a keyboard to. But we kept talking, and we ended up hanging out, and we went to a concert together with some friends, and we where else did we go? We went to Guitar Center. We went to the mall, and when we went to the mall with this like big group of friends, the funny thing is, like, the friends that were with us, they were all guys, and they all had a crush on me, but I like was starting to have a crush on him, and these other guys were trying to like impress me and be goofy like while we were out, but the whole time he and I were playing like footsie under the table at the mall food court. So and the whole time that same day, we actually rode in the back seat of the car that we were all traveling in, and I had like one of those old-fashioned like phones that would like the keyboard would slide out.
That was awful.
And I would like type a message into a notepad on my phone and then hand the phone to him, and he would read it, and he would delete the message and then type his message into my phone and hand it back to me, because you didn't have a phone at the time. We did all of our corresponding through email with you on your PSP, his like little PlayStation Portable.
Oh, forgive me for being poor.
I was poor too. We were
not poor enough for a phone.
My mom got me that. It was one of those like cheap Cricket like phones But anyway, I got that for my birthday. That was like all I got for my birthday that year, because that's all I wanted was one of those phones with the flip out keyboards. But
I had a pretty normal growing up.
Yeah, do you want to talk?
Mine's pretty average, middle class white kid in Ohio growing up. Grew up in a town of like 10,000 people.
Itty bit. You can just see one side of the town
surrounded by corn. Typical Ohio story. I had one family that was like super. They're not super religious, but super. We'll say old school. Super old school with everything. Very, very traditional. The women cook the dinner and do the dishes, and the men do all the hard labor and do the gardening and all that stuff. Great cooks though. Straight from Italy, and the ones that weren't from Italy all came from Alabama, so all great cooking. And then on the other side of my family, it was all kind of the prissy, richy kind of folks, business owner, that kind of stuff. But I didn't have anything.
You were in ROTC. That kind of shaped your future.
Well, yeah, because I ended up joining the Air Force when I was I 18 when I actually
19.
went in? 19.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into that. We got together when the day of my 18th birthday is when we officially got together, because he was worried that his parents would be upset if I wasn't 18 and he was. My mom didn't care, but my mom wanted me to get with anybody other than the abusive guy. So we ended up getting together on my birthday. He came over. We had a huge party. We had a bunch of people over, lots of fun. Uh, and then that's like how we started officially dating.
Mhm.
And from there, I ended up, my grandma had a house next door to her, way out in the county. So we had a lot of land out there, and she had just an empty house sitting next door to hers. So I think in the spring, we got together in February, and then in the spring of that year, um, he packed up and moved out into that house. And I was staying there, but my mom was still like fighting, me leaving. She didn't want me to leave. She said that I wouldn't finish high school if I left. And I was 18 at the time, and my mom wasn't doing very well. She was in a really abusive relationship at the time too, and I didn't feel comfortable being there. Thankfully, she's not in that relationship anymore.
Nah.
But I just didn't feel comfortable being in the house anymore. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm 18. I'm out of here. And I took off and moved into that house with him. And I still made it to school every day. I did graduate. There was no issues there.
And for those of you wondering, yes, in the state of Ohio, it's not just being 18. You have to have graduated high school before you are legally allowed to do whatever you want.
Right.
But
So I moved into that house with him, and it was really crappy.
Oh yeah, it was awful.
It was unfinished. It was a project house that she got like halfway done with. So like the kitchen and dining room looked really nice, but the living room had no like the floor was ripped up where they had ripped up carpet, so it was just the raw like nasty dirty wood that had once had carpet on it. And there was black mold. He actually ended up with black mold poisoning, and the doctors
almost killed me.
Yeah, the doctors told him that if we had been there any longer, it would have killed him.
Oh yeah, I was like coughing up blood, and like I was full blown screwed up from that, and that was like a month before I was supposed to go to basic.
Yeah, that whole time we were working out. We lived out by an industrial park because it was way out in the county, and we would go and run around like the factory buildings in this industrial park late at night, and it was a lot of fun. But we got our first car, and he started working for Honda. I worked at McDonald's for a little while, and then I was working at the daycare where I actually went to school for early childhood education. I went to a trade school in high school. So half of my day was spent in a daycare learning how to be a teacher, and then the other half of my day was spent with normal classes. And then I went on to work at that same daycare after I graduated.
Which is the worst job she's ever had.
No, McDonald's was the worst job I've ever had. And then the daycare was the easiest, but I didn't get paid enough to justify it.
No, she had this weird split schedule where it was like work an hour, go home for 2 hours, come back, work for 2 hours, go home for an hour. Like
Yeah,
it was dumb.
right.
Didn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I mean we made okay money, but we spent a lot of it because it was our first taste of freedom. So we ended up like going out to eat a lot and having big parties and having lots of people over, buying lots of food.
Working for Honda, I was actually making like a killing. At my peak, I was making almost $800 a week.
Yeah.
After taxes, which was great.
So then the weather started turning, and the house that we lived in didn't have a furnace. It got really cold, and when ice started gathering around the windows, we realized that it was time to get the hell out of there. It was too cold, and he was getting sick. So he was already set to go to basic training. We had a date for that, and his parents were really upset. They lived like a town, two-ish towns over. So we ended up moving into his parents' house for the remaining few months until he went to basic training. That way they could spend time with him. He was still working at Honda. I got a job at Honda with him, and I started working there. So at that point we were making a whole lot of money, but we were still blowing it all on food and things.
Well, that, and she worked a 40-hour week, and I worked usually a 60 to 70-hour work week. So didn't really have a whole lot of time to do anything anyway.
Yeah, we worked just nonstop. Terrible job, awful.
Mm-hmm.
Awful factory job, and that was the last day job I ever had.
And that was my first experience working with super abusive foreign people, and I didn't realize how crappy working for foreign people would ever be. So
Yeah,
I don't recommend that to anybody.
not to say that that's always going to be the case, but in this particular job, like the higher ups were just very.
Yeah.
We were talked to like animals.
They had techs they would call in from Japan that were paid like $1,500 an hour to fix machinery, and they were the worst people.
Yeah, they were not nice. But he ended up leaving for basic training in January.
Yep.
January. Yep.
2011.
At that point, I had been laid off from the Honda job during like a big holiday layoff that they did. He left for basic, and you want to talk about basic training?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit for those.
It's one of those weird things. I really don't know how much I can. I don't know if any of it's stuff I can't really talk about, but it was a pretty good experience. It's something that we were actually discussing this the other day. It's like learning about leadership and
camaraderie.
Yeah, camaraderie. Like you can have camaraderie doing like class projects and stuff like that, but you don't really get what they call esprit de corps. You don't really know what it's like to have to actually rely on like 50 to 60 other people and not having a choice. Like you cannot do basic by yourself. It's a team building project. That's all basic is one gigantic team building project. So I learned a lot. I learned how to be a good leader. I learned how to be a good follower. And the whole like you have to be a good follower to be a leader, or the best leaders are the best followers. That's absolutely true. If you don't know how to follow orders and you don't know how to work underneath someone, you have no idea how to lead other people. Period. And then there's no arguing that if you've never had to work for somebody else, you don't know how to be a boss. That's just plain and simple. But that's the whole basic training thing. The rest of basic training is all just doing paperwork. They kick your butt, make you do PT, and then they teach you how to be a leader.
Foreign is pretty broad. Please understand that we're trying to not point to a specific person. Like
yeah, no. I'm saying that like working for other people that were from out of the country who didn't have to listen to, because they weren't technically employed by that company. They worked for a foreign company, so they were bad people to work with. I'm not saying that they, in general, were bad people. Don't misconstrue that. Somebody in our streams always misconstrues what I said. Take that, shove it up your butt, and get it out of here. Because I'm not saying that anyone from any foreign country is bad, and I will not put up with that. I'll fart you right out of the stream. Anyway, past that.
We always have. Here's the thing: when you talk for a living on the internet,
people get offended.
Well, no, when you talk on the internet or talk for a living on the internet, what tends to happen is that you can say one thing and at least one person out there will misunderstand it. Yes. And then your identity becomes the misunderstanding of what you've said. Every single person here has said something stupid in their lifetime. You just probably haven't said it on the internet. So just please understand that we don't always have we don't always say things correctly,
right?
So
and that's the thing. We'll go ahead and put this on the record here. If you're ever offended by anything on our stream, we will never say anything to intentionally offend or down talk any person. So if you're offended, it's 100% you. We will never ever say anything offensive about anybody. And if you're offended by it, it's a personal opinion. So we'll just leave that there. And
we love you guys. We
love you guys. We want to see you guys succeed. So, yeah. Don't be sensitive.
We try our best to make sure that, we're not like stepping on any toes at all.
Again, that goes into the whole military thing. It's a discipline thing. Don't let everything get to you. Keep a stiff upper lip, strengthen your spine a little bit, and be tough. Anyway. So Megan said, white people love cheese.
We do!
And casserole. But I work for a Chinese family and we need a white girl to sell cheese. So, yeah, I'm not going to get into the whole, like, Asians and whites in the workplace, but, yeah.
So after
Be British.
after the military, or after basic training, he got stationed in Texas.
Awful.
And for tech school, where it was like school after basic training, and that was the first base that I was allowed to go to. So
we're talking like hour north of the border, Texas. Like it was like a 45-minute drive to the border, and it was like
you couldn't touch the water.
You couldn't. The water was disgusting. Like it was actually gross. It was one of the only military base I've ever been on, where pretty much at the end of every street and at every store had things where you could put your like empty milk gallons and stuff up, and you could get triple osmosis water, where it went through like 10 different filtering stages before it made it to the water bottle. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, because the water, like, you would shower and you still felt dirty. It was the Concho River, for anybody who wants to look that up. It was super duper gross. And we were there for quite a while. That's where I got pregnant with Taylor. That was intentional. But when we first moved to Texas, basically what ended up happening was I had everything that I planned to take with me to Texas on my back. I took a Greyhound to Texas. I had 2 large suitcases and a carry-on bag, and they lost everything other than my carry-on. They lost my clothes, they lost our wedding video, they lost our video games, they lost, I mean, I don't care about the video games, but they lost everything that we had planned to take with us. And the wedding video was like the most upsetting.
Yeah,
like
that really sucked. And no, it wasn't El Paso. We were in San Angelo, Texas.
Yeah. And my luggage was lost in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that really sucked. And it put us back a lot because we had to rebuy all of my clothes. And
oh, yeah, it took me until the end of my military career to get my credit cards and everything paid off.
Yeah, because
thousands and thousands of dollars. Because we still had to buy furniture. We still had to buy a bed. We didn't have a washer and dryer. We still had to pay our bills.
Yeah, we ended up being gifted a washer and dryer by the base. His commander brought them over to us.
Fortunately, he had just bought a new one, so he was just dropping off his old stuff, which was really cool.
We slept on an air mattress for a long time, and then that popped. And then we actually just pulled the pad from our futon down onto the floor every night, and then we would pull it back up and put it back on the futon. It was like one of the cheap, like $100 ones from Walmart. And
military doesn't pay much, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was big and pregnant at the time, so I was like basically sleeping on a thin pad on the floor throughout my pregnancy. We were eating like the cheapest of the cheap food, and
I ate free whenever I could because I could still get food from our dining facility on base for free.
Yeah, it was.
I would go in there and grab like a whole fruit bowl's worth of fruit and throw it in a bag.
Yeah, every once in a while you'd bring home stuff like little snacks and things, but yeah, that was a really, really hard time of our life. But we ended up leaving. Let's see, I got there in the spring, and then we left right before Thanksgiving.
End of fall, yeah.
Yeah, because we came back to Ohio for Thanksgiving. And we hung out here for a while, and then we moved to California. We actually drove across the country while I was heavily pregnant.
Oh yeah, I took a month. I had a whole month of leave saved up. Plus, I did. It's called the RAP program, Recruiter Assistance Program, where you get to work for a recruiter for a week, and I got to go to like my old high school and talk to the ROTC kids and do all that.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
And I was big and pregnant, so it was nice to like go home and see family. And
I just drank the whole time.
You did. That was partially my mom's and family's fault.
They were all about it.
Everybody wanted to give the military guy alcohol.
Well, I would tell people that I wasn't allowed to buy alcohol because I wasn't 21, and they're like, "You're in the Air Force." I'm like, "Yeah, you still got to be 21," and they're like, "That's dumb." And I'm like, "I agree. Buy me alcohol." So they did.
So we moved. We moved to California. We drove all the way across the country, and that was crazy. And then when we got to our new house in California, compared to what we had in Texas, it was huge. It was beautiful. There were stone floors. We had cathedral ceilings. It was huge to us then. Now we look at it and it was kind of small because it was like one level. But we were just so happy to have like a place that felt like it was going to be our home. We had a bedroom for our daughter, which was nice. Um, and we started kind of building our life. We started with all of our cheap furniture. On base, there was a night called Big Trash Night where you were allowed to like throw out the furniture that you didn't want anymore. And what would happen is these like rich military families would upgrade their whole living room set, and then they'd take this other living room set that was
And
still
just
new.
set it outside.
Yeah, so we got all of our furniture and our rugs out of the trash. We found everything in the trash. We would drive around our base and just take whatever we could home. And we had nice stuff. We still have things in our house today that we got out of the trash on base. So that was
say
crazy.
Out of the trash. Let's just say off of somebody's front curb that was not in with their trash.
Well, yeah, it's not like we were dumpster diving. You were supposed to drive around and pick up things. Like that, it was like a thing that everyone did. And we also had a place called the Airman's Attic, which was like a thrift shop, but everything was free. You could just go in and shop around and take what you wanted. And the whole thing was that, like, if you have things that you don't need, you pay it forward and bring your things in. So it was a really cool system. Military life is very different from civilian life. Obviously, you couldn't have that like off of a base, but you know, it was a really cool thing to do, to go in and like get clothes and then return clothes and try things on that you would never try on before, and it was really nice.
People, I grew up in an area with only white people, American apartheid. Yeah, so I grew up in a little town called New Carlisle. Again, like 10 to 15,000 people, and it was kind of weird. It was mostly white people, and the only other race, I think the only other race was Mexican. Everyone else was Mexican there, and everyone in the town that was white was super racist because of it. Like
Awful.
that was really weird. Growing up in a time when like every other state is like working away from that, and ours is like moving in the opposite direction. I mean, the first girl I ever dated for almost 3 years was Mexican, as a matter of fact. And then
You guys were together a long time.
and then I get into the military and get exposed to literally every race. That was different, because it's like growing up in a white town, you meet your first black friend. It's like, wow, cool, my first black friend. but then you move on, and it's like I knew people that like whose family were from Pakistan. I had friends who were from India. I had friends who were like actually from Japan, from Korea. Like, it's pretty cool.
And he was friends with everybody. Like, we had people, just all different people showing up, like, when we would actually have people over in California.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, we had, like, a calico collage of
we
people.
had the whole rainbow at our house when we have a party.
It was so fun. And it was so cool to hear stories from so many different people, like, who lived everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's neat because everybody has such a different opinion about everything.
And food, talking about like the food that they grew up with, it was just, we got to experience so much culture in California. We lived in a primarily Sikh community.
God, man, their food was good.
So good, and they were so nice to you. They weren't very...
Yeah, they were nice to me. They were not nice to her.
They were
Cultural differences, but yeah.
Yeah, But anyway, I, on the other hand, when I was a kid, I was like the only white girl at my school, so I was the oddity.
She was the exact opposite.
I was the oddity at my school. It was cool though. It was I really didn't have much trouble. I actually had more trouble when our school was like, when I went to high school and it was more like half and half. There was a lot more like fighting, but I felt like being the only white girl out of school, I actually had less problems because people were nice to me because of that. I don't know. It's kind of strange, but yeah, anyway, Ohio is a very weird place. We'll just put it that way. I'm sure everywhere is weird, but Ohio is by far the weirdest place that I've ever lived, but I love it.
Oh, it's so strange. It's different from town to town. People are different everywhere.
Joyce said, where in Cali? So when we say we lived in Cali, you guys are thinking...
We lived in Northern California. We lived like... We were south of Sacramento, yes. Though, right? Yeah, so we were about an hour south, maybe 45 minutes south from Sacramento.
It was hot enough to never snow, but it still got cold. It never rained other than in the spring.
Oh, yeah, the winters, the lowest it got down to was like in the 40s.
Yeah.
But it was a bitter cold. Like, it was a weird bitter cold. But in the summer, it would get up to like 115, 120 degrees.
It always stunk. It was always on fire.
Yep, always.
Everything was always dead. The
She
grass
said,
was
"Me
always
too.
dead.
I'm in Sacramento."
Oh, yep.
Well, then you know.
Then
You
you
know. You
know.
know the smoke in the air. We arrived. If you've been in Sacramento for a long time, we actually got there during that like
The fog.
world record fog that California had. We showed up in Sacramento on the day that started, and it took us like an hour to get from one side of Sacramento to the other. Y'all got some of the best food in Sacramento, though. I'll give it to you there.
Oh, Sandra D's.
Oh, Sandra D's, man.
Sandra D's. That is soul food. Like we're
if you're from Sac and you haven't eaten there, you should try out Sandra D's.
Oh, so good. Let's see. I was the only white girl in my high school in Singapore. I understand what it is being in a minority. Let's see. Oh man, I miss curries and kimchi.
Curries. Man, like we have Indian food here and we have some Sikh here, but like the food here is not anywhere near as good as the stuff. And I think maybe it's just the ingredients because California has access to food quite a bit easier than they do here. So most of the stuff they get here is stuff that they buy from like the local grocery stores instead of like legit food delivery services.
Let's get in. We haven't even gotten into where we were with business, so we should like get into that now that we're 42 minutes in. So with the business, where that played in was when we got to California, I had my daughter. That was a mess in itself. I almost died that day. I literally almost died. I was scheduled for a normal birth. But for everyone who thinks birth is icky, cover your ears. My cervix wouldn't open enough, and she was crowning, but she could not get her head out any more than it was. It was just she got stuck basically because one side of my cervix would not dilate the rest of the way. And by that time, I was so loopy that when they suggested a C-section, I was just like, yes, anything. I will do anything to get rid of this pain. I had spiked a fever in the night, so that's already like really bad for the baby, like for the mother to spike a fever. So they took me for my C-section and forgot him.
Yeah, forgot me. And first of all, they made her sign all of her consent paperwork after she was already high on every drug that they could put her on.
Yeah, they put
which was super illegal. They didn't even ask me. I think I was in the bathroom. Came back, she had already signed all the paperwork.
Yeah. So I was already like cut open by the time that he made it into the room.
Yeah, I got up and just started walking around because they said they'd come back and get me after they had her prep for surgery, and like 15 minutes went by, and I'm like, okay. So I just got up and started walking around, found my way into the surgery ward, which didn't have a locked door, and just walked right in, saw they're in there, and like was like, hello, and they're like, oh, we forgot about you. And I was like, yeah, you forgot about me. Thanks, appreciate it. It's supposed to be like the most important moment of my life, but you forgot about me. Good for you.
That at that point, I can remember looking up at him and like smiling at him, but I don't remember a whole lot more. They asked me if I was feeling any pain, and apparently I said no, just a little bit of pressure, and then I was like out. They
gave her another full dose of whatever they had her on, and then she OD'd.
Yeah, I woke up apparently hours later with a nurse over top of me, and
the first time you woke up was about 45 minutes after the surgery. They wheeled you in. I followed. The rooms were kind of offset. They took you one room or two rooms down to the left, and they took Taylor into another room and had me follow. That way, I could sign for the shots they had to give her like immediately when she was born.
I was alone when I woke up.
And then they took her to go get like cleaned up and washed, and then they ended up having to take her to the NICU. But then they took me to see you, and they were trying to talk to you, but you were just like, ugh. So
the last thing that the first thing that I remember after waking up was it was just a nurse in the room, and she said, Starla, do you know where you are? I said, yeah, I'm at the hospital about to have my baby. And she said, sweetheart, you already had your baby. And I said, oh great, where is she? And she went, oh, she's with your husband. And I said, oh, where are they? And she said, they're in the NICU. And I just remember laying there like empty. Like I had fallen I had passed out like with a baby in me, and I woke up with no baby in me and all alone, and I just fell back asleep. And then when I woke up next, he was with me. And then vaguely remember being with him for a little while, and then they wheeled me into wherever like my permanent room was, and I woke up with my legs in those like big things that keep the blood flowing through them. Like it was just I woke up with like a machine on my legs squeezing my legs, and they wouldn't let me see my daughter. It was 20 hours that I laid there that they would not let me see my daughter because they told me that I had to be able to walk in order to see her.
Yeah, and they had taken Taylor to the NICU because she was like 4 or 5% deficient on oxygen. She was getting 95 to 96% of her oxygen, which if you're in the legal community, you will know that unless they're below 90%, they don't have to be in the NICU. So they had our daughter in the NICU for no reason to begin with. And she was on one of the moving tables. So they could have, she wasn't in like one of the big things. She was in just like a regular, like, what are they called? I don't know.
Wheelie carts.
Well, yeah, just she was tucked down into this little thing, little oxygen tubes in her nose, with an oxygen thing that was on a freaking stand, everything on wheels. They could have wheeled her into the room, and they denied her the ability to do so.
Yeah.
So I sat with Taylor as much as I could, and I kept back to her as much as I could, trying to get her up and get her walking and get her moving and get her strength. But obviously, after a C-section, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So we tried everything that we could to get her up and walking.
And what upset me the most was that like we had like our like birth plan where we had decided that we were going to breastfeed and everything.
Yeah,
and
none of that was followed.
Yeah, they like stuck formula in Taylor's mouth. They made me like they said that I had to be able to walk to the NICU by myself, so I had to force myself after being cut hip to hip to stand up and walk. And I finally was able to do so, but I hadn't seen like my kid yet. I had no idea what my newborn baby looked like, and he had pictures of her on his phone from where he had went to see her, and I refused to see them. I said I don't want to see them. I don't want to my first time seeing her to be on my phone or on your phone. And by like hour 15, finally I'm like, you know what, just show me. Just show me what she looks like. And he showed me the picture of her, and she looked so weird to me. She looked nothing like what I pictured her to look like. I remember it was almost like looking at like someone else's baby. She was completely foreign to me. And I felt so upset that like I feel like if I would have been able to hold her like right after she was born, that I would have gotten to have that bonding. But I almost had, I don't know, it was almost like she wasn't mine. And even when I went and saw her for the first time and held her, it just didn't sink in that I was a mom. Like the instinct there. I mean, I loved her and I took care of her. It wasn't like it's not like I didn't, connect with her or anything, but there was definitely something that was lacking there. So I'm really spiteful towards the hospital. And I recommend that everybody have like a written birth plan when they go in.
Absolutely have a written birth plan, and if it's not followed and you go down a path like ours, I had a friend who was a legal specialist who said that we should have sued that hospital for millions of dollars. Everything from the moment that we arrived there to the moment that we left was illegal. Everything. She signed paperwork while under the influence of intoxicating drugs. They forgot the consenting partner during the surgery, which I had to be there to consent. If I wouldn't have been there and they would have had the baby and given the baby shots without my consent, that would have been another thing that they did. They prevented her from seeing the baby without reason. There was no reason. So they were literally holding our child captive. Like we should have sued the hospital.
Yeah, it sucked. But we ended up getting to see her.
Also, they OD'd her on morphine.
So yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
She nearly flatlined on the operating table. That was when they asked her if she was in pain, and she said no, just a little bit of pressure. They gave her another full dose of whatever drug that they had her on. She immediately passed out and began flatlining. She overdosed immediately.
And like he could see the doctor starting to panic.
Yeah, I was standing right next to the anesthesiologist, and I was waiting for her to level out because I was just going to knock him to the floor. I was there the whole time. I was pissed off that he gave her the stuff to begin with because she didn't need it. and I was just waiting for her to flatline because I was just going to break his teeth out.
He was.
I was furious.
I mean, yeah, that was
the whole experience just infuriated me.
But we ended up, everything went okay. Taylor was fine. We went home, and he ended up, going back to work after his leave, and I was basically locked in a cage. That's what a military base is. It's a big cage, big like gated community.
Yep.
I had no car. Because he took the only car to work every day, and I lived in my house basically on quarantine like we are now with my little newborn, and I started making jewelry. He gave me $30.
$300.
No, it started with 30, and then once I sold a couple, we did more.
I gave you everything I had.
Yeah, we did. We started with 30, and I made a couple necklaces for myself and a couple for like family. I was doing the keys, and then he gave me more when we had people who were interested in buying them. Like once we had people lined up to buy, and we knew that we would make a little bit of a profit, you gave me a little bit more money, and I just made a Facebook page. I didn't make an Etsy shop at that point yet. I made a Facebook page and was selling my keys on Facebook and on DeviantArt. And I made quite a few sales from that. And then we decided to actually start the Etsy shop. And it was just nonstop like promoting. Like I spent all my time between like spending time with Taylor, making my jewelry, and just promoting everywhere. I would message pages who had tons of followers and send them pictures and say it would mean a lot if you shared my shop. I was posting on walls of like huge fantasy pages and fantasy magazines. I was joining thousands of Facebook groups. Anything that I thought that I could like promote my products in. I was in like cosplay groups and gothic groups and fantasy groups and buy sell trade groups and promote your shop groups, and I just posted nonstop every single day. I was posting. So I know that like when people see me now and they see how I can just list anything and it sells, like they think about that and they see that, but they don't understand how much I had to do in the early days to get the following that I have now. And it started out as just grunt work, posting, getting banned from pages, having people, get mad at me. Oh, you're not supposed to post this type of content here. Oh, sorry, I didn't know. It was just nonstop. But then the business started to do pretty well. We started making decent sales. We had one year where it basically covered Christmas. And we realized around that time that like, hey, this is starting to be a serious thing. Like the first time that you had to actually help me do a Black Friday, like pack orders, and it took us all day, we really like realized that this is a business. We're doing really well. And I got like, I started getting a big head about it. I started feeling like, I'm a CEO, I had to. I feel like once you hit that point where you actually feel like a business owner and you start like mentally bragging on yourself, that's when, I don't know, that's when like the shift happens.
Just got to know when to turn it off.
But I think it's good for you because
it is. It absolutely is.
There's a lot of drive that comes from it where
you wouldn't want a soldier that didn't act and feel like a soldier.
Well,
right. The same concept applies to anything. If you're a big musician, you're the big badass when you walk up on stage. You're cooler and better than everybody else. But you got to be able to turn it off. You got to know who you need to turn it on around and who you need to turn it off around. And that's the hard part. Any little bit of fame, any little bit of notoriety. Once you reach a new level of notoriety, you got to learn how to control it. That can be hard.
Let's see. I know that C-sections are necessary, but sometimes hospitals seem so cold with how they handle birth. Maybe that's a can of worms. Oh, I wonder how you feel about alternative birth methods. I think that women, as long as you're safe and you have people around you who can deliver a child, and you're aware that birth plans won't always go the way that you originally want them to.
Yeah, have alternatives for sure.
Yeah, I think that whatever a woman wants to do, if you want to do home birth, if you want to do a water birth, if you want to, I don't really have any.
I don't think I'm allowed to have opinion, but I disagree with you. I think home births are silly. There are too many things that can go wrong, and I know I'm going to have people slam me for this, but it's one of those things where like There are thousands of things that can go wrong and only one thing that can go right. And yeah, you can have a doctor there, but a doctor can't always necessarily have the equipment to fix the situation. So deciding to have a home birth, if one of those particular things that requires immediate surgery goes wrong and you get to the hospital and it takes too long because of traffic or one thing or another, you might not die, but your baby might. And I think it's kind of silly to put your life and your baby's life at risk for the sake of pride.
I think
And
that
if you want to do a water birth, there are hospitals that offer that alternative. There are hospitals that offer natural birth and like birthing rooms that are more like a bedroom. If you want to do it that way, please do it the safest way possible. Go to a facility that's made for that, where they can help you and save your baby. Your baby is more important than your pride. Sorry.
Every time I open your mouth, you keep going. I think that because you got to consider that, like, he was in a panic situation you were 20, right? Yeah, you were 20.
Yeah, I was 20.
And you pretty much prepared for me to die, and I'm sure you thought about, like, how the hell am I going to raise like a baby by myself? Like, those were the thoughts that were going through his head, even having a full room of medical professionals and then almost watching me die regardless. Like,
everything went wrong with her birthing. Everything went wrong. She didn't dilate correctly, and then the epidural made her numb, so she couldn't even attempt to push anymore. The C-section, she overdosed on a drug, and like just everything throughout the process went wrong. And if it's that easy for one person to have more than one thing go wrong, you're probably going to have at least one thing go wrong while you're giving birth.
So, Sarah's Kingdom. So now do either of you work other than your shop? So, yes and no. So here's the thing. Our Etsy shop did very well, and it built us to the point that I consider sustainability. We were able to live, and we moved back home after his military enlistment ended. For those of you who don't know, he has a really bad back condition that there are days that he can't move. He is not able to function.
I'm locked on the couch, can't do anything.
There's no way that he could have re-enlisted in the military. It just wouldn't have been possible.
I might have been able to push through another 4 years, but it would have been a stretch.
Yeah. So when he was able to get out of the military, because we made so much money with our Etsy shop, we were able to move back home. His grandmother, we moved in with her at first in this house. This was the house that she lived in, and it's the house that he like grew up in. But what ended up happening was we were searching for our own house while we moved here. You know, this was just supposed to be like a crash pad while we shopped around for a house. And then she decided that she wanted to buy another house. So she offered to sell us this house. So she moved out, we moved the rest of our stuff in, and now we own this house. And right when we got back, he got a quick job in tech support. That didn't work for, it was at home, a home job.
God, that was awful.
Yeah, that didn't work out very long. And I mean, we were doing good with the Etsy shop, like, especially if we rationed out the money that we made around holiday time and we were smart with like how we spent the money that we had put back, we were doing fantastic. And then I started my YouTube channel, sharing some of my tips. I started the Handmade Alphas. You know, we started making free videos and gaining a following. And then I started getting requests to coach people like one-on-one, and I thought about it and I'm like, yeah, like I'll coach people. That sounds fun. But then I started thinking about it as our subscriber count started growing, and I realized that the number of people who are asking me to, there goes my alarm, that the number of people who are asking me to coach them, there's no way that I would have been able to even do like an hour or 30 minutes with each of those people and be able to be a wife and a mom and a housekeeper and an Etsy shop owner and still create YouTube videos. There's no way that I would have had time to do that. My time would have been too thin. And if I had to quit my Etsy shop, then it's almost like I lose all of the credibility for teaching Etsy materials. So what we ended up doing instead was I asked myself, how can I be a coach to like as many people as who need me, but without sacrificing my time to the point where I can't have a life either, or create free content for those who, you know, who don't need to be like coached because I enjoy this. Like this is our entire life is hanging out with you guys, doing videos, planning videos, doing Friday Bean episodes. Like this is all we do. So what I ended up doing was creating Handmade Alpha Academy, where everything that I would teach someone one-on-one, I recorded it into like 20 hours of content, and it took me a year to do. Like it was the solution to not being able to be a coach to everyone. I recorded everything that I would have taught everybody, built the course, and opened that it's been 2 years now. Yeah,
It'll be 2 years with our June launch this year.
2 years and almost 500 students later. And that is how we, you know, that is how our next like phase of business ownership went. And now I'm not selling as much on Etsy as I was back then. And the reason is not because I plan on quitting Etsy, and it's not because my products have become like less popular. It's because I've made a shift where I enjoy coaching now and interacting with you guys and teaching, which is what I went to school for. I went to school to be a teacher.
And she still actively educates herself on her own.
Oh yeah, that's what I do nonstop. Is I'm learning, I'm watching, I'm taking courses, I'm reading psychology books. But I'm far more passionate about teaching than I am, you know, being solitary making my jewelry, but I still do both. And when I do launches with my jewelry, everything still sells out. I still have that great following. I'm just not on social media promoting nonstop right now because I dedicate and I sacrificed a lot of the time that I would spend, you know, promoting my Etsy shop to helping you guys and learning and making sure that I'm up to date on everything. So that's where the biggest shift came. So do we work jobs? No. Do we have money that comes in other than Etsy? Yes. We make money from our Etsy shop. We make money from our YouTube channel because we are monetized. We make about $200 a month from YouTube. For anybody who wants to know like how many like subscribers and views it takes to make money, we make like $200 a month. We make money from Handmade Alpha Academy, which only opens twice a year. It's going to be opening in June and it's going to be opening again in December. So we only open it for 10 days because we could keep it open all year long. But the thing is, I still want to be able to have personal time with the students who enter the course. And if it were open all year long, I wouldn't be able to do that because I wouldn't be able to keep up. So we even thought about putting a cap on this year. Like we're thinking about only letting so many people in case it becomes too much for us to handle.
Yeah, because we don't want that.
And it's not like, oh, we don't want your money. Like it's not like we, you know, I mean, we need to survive.
Yeah,
we
have to make it's how we make our living. Like
exactly.
Obviously we want to help you guys, but we have to be able to eat too.
Right. But but what I'm saying is like we still, despite the fact that we could make more money, that's not what's important to us.
No.
What's more important to us is making sure that we can help the number of people who we need to help. So we are thinking about putting a cap on how many people we let in this year.
Yeah, and 2 launches ago, like we even got to a point where there were so many people on the website that our current like web host, our bandwidth was peaked. Like our website was crashing because so many people were trying to get to it. And that's the kind of crap we're trying to prevent. We don't want to have to spend like $1,000 a month on our website just to support a few extra people. So I don't know if we'll limit it this time, but we may have to limit it at some point.
Yeah, we haven't decided yet, but we'll keep you posted on that. It'll be opening on June 14th, and our students are phenomenal. Amber Marie, I think she's still in the comments. She is like a brilliant example of that. Paula Haas from Clean and Dirty Skincare. She's another brilliant example of people who have just rocked out. I think Paula last Black Friday made like $68,000 or something ridiculous just on Black Friday weekend. So it's just, it goes to show you what is possible, like when you dedicate your time into something that you're really, really passionate about. So we make money doing that. The other way that I make money is, you guys know that I love eRank. I've been making videos about eRank for years now. Anthony and I became really good friends, the CEO of E-Rank. We actually got to meet him last year
Cool
in
guy. Had a beer with him.
yeah, he moved to Ohio, so it was only natural. It was really funny when we met Anthony. I had a drink at the bar where we met him. It was in a really fancy hotel, and I had a little fancy I think I had like a little margarita or something before he got there. And
it
then
was stronger than anticipated.
well, then he got there and he offered to buy us a round of drinks. And I felt fine after that first drink. So I'm like, yeah, Anthony's offering to buy me a drink. Sure. By the second drink, I was drunk trying to
If you
talk
weren't
to
aware, if you're in a hotel with a bar where people are wearing tuxedos, their drinks are strong. So careful.
yeah, it was something else. I got a little bit tipsy. We joke about it now, but it was hilarious. And then in February, I started working for Anthony full time because I was helping him nonstop anyway. I basically worked for Anthony and I wouldn't let him pay me for like a year. That's just he ended up buying me something very expensive to thank me for the original E-Rank rebrand that I helped with. He bought me starlamore.com, which was something that someone had bought that it's called like website hijacking, where they'll buy a domain name and then try to sell it to you for like something ridiculous, like $5,000. And he bought it for me without me knowing. And we haven't figured out what we're going to do with it yet, but I now technically own starlamore.com. So that was a pretty cool gift. And then in February 1st of this year, I finally said, you know what? There's so much going on with Etsy right now. There's so many weird things going on with SEO. I'm already dedicating so much of my time to helping E-Rank anyway. I want to continue offering new things to Handmade Alpha Academy students. I want to continue buying Handmade Alpha Academy students. I give them 12 months of E-Rank Pro free, which is, normally $120 value. I pay out of pocket for that. Like, I don't get a weird deal from Anthony for doing it.
No, we pay for it.
Yeah, we pay to give our students that for 1 year. And I wanted to make sure that like when there were updates, I would have access to those before anyone else. That way I could make sure that things were up to date and I could keep creating videos like the day that a tool releases, like we did yesterday with keyword lists. I wanted to be the first to have a video. So I started working for Anthony. I started officially getting paid for helping. I work like between 12 and 14 hours a week with Anthony. So not, it's not consuming all of my time. It just depends on what we're doing, how much I'm actually working. But a lot of it's just fun. A lot of it's getting to see things behind the scenes, working directly with the developers, talking to them about things, talking about tools. It's a really interesting thing that we're now doing, but that wasn't like out of money necessity. That's something that I was doing anyway, that Anthony he wanted to pay me for because I was already doing it. So we're about
we're gonna pound through the line. There were a couple of
questions.
Yeah,
we're about at the end. If you guys have any questions, like treat this as a Ask Me Anything, an AMA.
Yeah.
And let us know if you have any specific questions about.
Gotta be quick. We're getting off in 5 minutes.
All right, let us know.
All right.
Everyone agreed about home births. There being.
Yeah, I'm all cool with pride stuff, but nobody's life is worth anything in your pride. Period. Yeah. No exceptions. Was the tech support job you had to ask people if they had tried to turn it off and back? That was literally my job. Yes. Basically, turn it off, turn it back on. If you fell apart tomorrow, what would you do for income? She'd probably be some sort of teacher.
If everything fell, and we've talked about this, if my Etsy shop disappeared, and for some reason, like maybe we'll say like Etsy just disappears. That's not going to happen. Don't freak out.
Lightning round answer.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm not that worried. If Etsy disappeared and my Etsy shop disappeared and for some reason Handmade Alpha Academy disappeared, I think that I'm a good enough teacher that I could make a pivot and I would start another course on marketing psychology because that's what I'm passionate about. I love psychology. I love marketing, and I love neuromarketing, which is the combination of neuroscience and marketing. I would create a general business course that anybody could take advantage of. And if that didn't work, I will do anything to never have to work for someone else again. I don't
Yep.
consider working for Anthony like working for someone else, because I am at the top of like the management team. So I'm still calling shots and, leading a team. Um, it's a lot different than working for like a crappy boss. So yeah, I would keep teaching. That's my favorite thing to do. I love teaching. I love going and speaking. I went to a college a couple months ago and got to speak to a marketing class. I've done several public speaking events talking about marketing. It's my favorite thing to do, and I think that it is what I'm probably going to do for the rest of my life. I enjoy it so much, and I enjoy learning about it. So
And if I had to work again, I would probably do something in intelligence, honestly. It's something I'm good at. Probably work for a government military organization or private military organization and do intel. I'm good at war.
anyway, what is the best way to find out if HAA is good for me? So when HAA opens, what we do is we do a free webinar. And that what that does is it gives you guys a taste of my teaching style if you are not already like if you never experienced before. That's what a free webinar is. It is a taste test. That's why there's always a pitch at the end of free webinars. And people they're like, oh, I bet there's a pitch at the end. Of course there is. We have to eat. We have to survive. We have to be able to, maintain our lives. So what we do is we give you guys a free sample of what our teaching style is, and we give you things that even if you don't buy the course, you can actually still walk away from the webinar with content that you can use. That's always our primary objective, is to make sure that everybody walks away with something that they can apply to their shop that day. We want to make sure that even if you don't buy the course, you're still gaining something, because we still need you as an audience. We need you on YouTube. We still have a monetized channel where we make, a little bit of our income from. So we need you guys. So we do the free webinar, and that will give you a taste of our teaching style. And then after that, we allow you to ask questions. We usually do a Q&A completely focused around Handmade Alpha Academy. There's a link below to our waiting list. And when you click on that link, you'll get a little page that will tell you all about Handmade Alpha Academy. There's a video on there that some of our alphas have we made it from their testimonials. Watch that. And if you have any questions about Handmade Alpha Academy pertaining to your specific business, email me. My email address is starla@handmadealphaacademy.com. I will reply to you. It might take me a few days because Mark's birthday is this weekend, but I'll read over everything, and I will honestly let you know if it is right for you, because it is not right for everyone. And I am more worried about making sure that you don't join if it's not right for you than I am like trying to get you to just buy my product and find out for yourself, because I don't want you guys to have to go through that emotional investment of buying it and then needing to refund it, which we do offer a 30-day refund. But I know that there's a lot of emotional stress in committing to that in the first place. So yeah, email me and we'll let you know.
Jane is going to be the last question I'm going to answer. Her husband's getting out of the military or got out of the military. I don't know your particular story, but returning to civilian life. So that's kind of hard. And like, I wasn't in a combat role. Again, I was military intelligence. I was supposed to be signals intelligence. I ended up working in counter IED and mission support intelligence and signals fusion analysis intelligence. And I think the process is going to be similar for everyone. It's more of coping with the people than anything. Because once you join the military, most of the people you hang out with, the people you're around, are all military. They're all like-minded people. And I don't want anybody to be offended by anything I'm about to say, but civilians are a totally different breed of people from those of you that have been in the military. When you're in the military, you go through all of you're taught how to think critically. You're taught how to think in a broad spectrum. You're taught to look at your environment and figure out different solutions to very easy problems. Civilians aren't critical thinkers. And some of you may have taken critical thinking courses and that kind of stuff. Critical thinking is a learned skill. And it's something that you can't get from just sitting at home and reading a book. It's something that you have to deal with other people and come up with solutions to problems that don't necessarily have an answer. And I think that's the hardest thing to cope with, is dealing with the people.
Well, knowing that your decision is going to either like kill someone or, save someone, like you have to think critically. Like,
Yeah, like, well, it could lead to that. Most people
right,
in the military never kill anybody. I don't want people to have the wrong opinion about people in the
right.
military. I never pulled the trigger on anyone. Yes, I was intelligent, so people did die based on my decisions. People were also saved based on my decisions. But it's more of just understanding that people don't think the way that you do. You think different than anybody that has ever. If you've never been in the military, you cannot even comprehend how people in the military think. You don't know what morale is on that level. You don't know how to rely on people. And being in the military could be one of those things where you're used to relying on other people. That's a, kind of a downfall with it too, is that you get used to, like, if you don't have the answer to a question, someone will always be there to help you, unless you're like the special kind of people. She said he was one para, so like if you're out in the field and it's just you and your 3 or 4 or 5 other buddies, yeah, you may not have somebody else that you can rely on, but for the most part you're used to having people that you can ask questions to, or somebody that's more experienced than you. And once you hit that civilian life, that support structure is gone. Like, yeah, you have your family and you have like old friends and teachers, but they're it's not the same. You have no one you can rely on as a civilian. And in the military, people have no choice but to help you. They have no choice but to be your friend. They have no choice but to be your support structure. That's how a chain of command works. So if he's truly having trouble dealing and having trouble coping, there are specialists out there. There are special therapists. I forget what the term for it is, but there are people that are specifically to help people transition. I think they're called transition therapy. Look into that. That's a serious help. And if not, there are videos you can watch on YouTube where people have made it, like transitioning to civilian life, that can really help you out, because it is hard to cope with.
So the last two questions I did want to answer quickly. Will you announce the price of HAA for the next opening? Yes, I'll go ahead and do that, just because we're on quarantine. Normally we like to keep the discount a secret because it's something special for you guys. Like, we want to surprise our new subscribers. But because we're all on quarantine, and I know a lot of you guys are waiting on it because you need it, we have decided to announce the price. There will be a public sales page. This is the general public. Like, if you Google Handmade Alpha Academy, you will be directed to a sales page when it opens, where the price of the course is $1,000, $997.
Yes.
So almost $2,000. But for Handmade Alphas who are on my email list, you guys get a separate link that is only to people who are on the list, and you guys get $1,000 off, making the price of the course $997. Or if you would like to do our 6-month payment, 6-month payment plan, it is $199 per month. That is in US dollars, so you'll have to like convert. But that is the price of the course. You guys will get $1,000 discount, but you have to be on either our email list, or if you're worried that you're not seeing our emails, there is a separate like double up list, the waiting list down below. That does not obligate you to buy, but it will make sure that when it opens, you will get that email, because I will be sending it to all of the lists, and that's like a backup list. So if you want to join the waiting list, there's a link down there where you will get everything that you need to know when we open on June 14th. And then there was one more. Oh, I'm in HTU and nearly finished with building a better website. My Etsy sales have recently started really picking up. I've done stuff in small shops and sell in person. Is HAA good for me? HAA is 100% Etsy. HTU is about general build your handmade business anywhere, no matter where you're selling from. But it doesn't teach you click by click, do this on Etsy, do this on Etsy. Here's how you do Etsy SEO, yada, yada. That's where HAA comes in. HAA is 100% Etsy. And it's really a psychology course. We teach you buyer psychology and marketing psychology, and the invisible psychological triggers that cause people to buy. So that's what HAA is all about. All right.
Seems like the military fulfills an essential brainstem needed for the pack or tribe. Must be hard to go from that to an individualist society. Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. In a military unit in a war zone, you can rely on the guy next to you, but in a societal collapse, your neighbor will kill you for a sandwich. Like, yeah, we live in a very individualist society, and it's very hard to cope at first, it gets a little bit easier. You start to become a little bit more self-reliant. You start to learn how to learn things on your own and deal with things on your own. Most people go in the military when they're 18. They don't know how to pay taxes. They don't know how to buy a car. They don't know what living on their own is. A lot of people go into debt. They buy ridiculous things that they don't need, but it's all part of learning. But when those things happen, you have somebody to rely on. And then when you get out of the military, all the things that the military took care of for you, like healthcare, that I didn't know how to get when how old was I when I got out of the military? 25?
25 or 26.
25 or 26. Yeah, 3 years ago. So I would have been 26. I had no idea how to get health insurance. Like that. I know that's silly, but like I never had to. I never had to do anything like that. So
we didn't know how to do a lot of things.
yeah, because the military took care of most of it.
Yeah. All right, guys.
But that's it. Leave on a happy note. I'm gonna go spend the rest of my birthday chilling out and hanging out and doing things. And
how old are you?
I'm 29.
He is 29 today. So
I'm 29 today. I'm an old fart.
Weird.
I hope I didn't offend anybody who's much older than me.
Well, you're an old soul. That's what you're wise for your years because you've had so much life experience.
Anybody in the military, they know what's up.
I'm often referred to as wise for my years. People.
You were with somebody who was in the military. And
it's all because of you. That's why.
Oh, it's 100% because of me.
Oh,
it's my birthday. Let me think that.
Guys, thanks for hanging out during this really weird Friday bean. We should be back to normal schedule. I also wanted to thank you guys. I know last week we didn't have a Friday bean. A close friend of mine passed away. His funeral is actually tomorrow via webcam, which really it sucks that I have to attend a funeral of a close friend that way, but it is what it is. I'm all for everybody doing what's necessary to stay safe and
stay home. Cover your mouth when you cough.
But there might be a new video tomorrow. We're supposed to do one every other day. I might take the day off tomorrow just because I would have to edit it tonight. So
yeah, just take the day off.
Probably not going to be a new video tomorrow. Might wait till Sunday. So anyway, guys,
make sure you subscribe. I know we talked about it at the beginning of it. If you haven't yet, give this video a thumbs up.
Watch some of our Etsy content.
Yeah, watch some of our Etsy content. We did this one for fun. It's my birthday, hanging out. We like to do these kind of things every once in a while, update you on how we feel about things, and brings up new topics we haven't talked about before. So
let you guys get a little taste of who we are and our life struggles and how we became what we are now. So
we've all been through a lot, just like y'all.
Yep. Crazy times. All right, guys. Have an amazing weekend, and we will see you sometime.
Probably next Friday.
Probably next Friday. Bye, guys.